All
You
right,
could.
so
Wait, you mean streaming live?
I'm streaming live.
Alright, then you can at least show the team stats or if you need to. As like a visual guide.
Yeah.
Because I did actually
I'm
upload
kind of
for
just
all three
giving up
weeks.
on the actually using the video for anything useful at this point. But we can look at the team stats.
Yeah, you can just go through the tabs. It's the one for the team stats A. Like the regular tabs are just like the actual stats that I made and all the fucking I had to use all stats for this one. I changed it up so that um part one is offense and part two is defense.
I see. Ooh, we had a couple of teams really struggling with score percentage this week. Anyway, hello
Yeah,
everybody.
my team is pretty.
Welcome to Spike and Spike. Uh, we've got team stats this week, so that's exciting. And yeah, Active's team did not do well on score percentage.
3.61. Jesus.
What a
It
fall.
honestly is amazing how me like Nips have 15 cabs and we have five, dude. We have five. But every other stat seems to be pretty even.
Yep, he just couldn't get it in.
Like the fuck, dude. Like not even the pups were off, so I don't know what the hell was happening, but whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the recaps from week 3. We'll start with A team. We had LBT versus the Super Monkey Balls. Super Monkey Balls had a dominant G1 have to win game 1 10-4. But then LBT had a nice comeback in game 2 on Sugar Hill to take the split.
Yeah.
What do
I
you think?
mean, I'm not gonna take any stock in any like Dallas games that weren't on Dallas. This LBT Super Monkey Ball game was a San Francisco Toronto split. So you can tell which halves were Toronto and which halves were San Francisco looking at the scores.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can say any team sucks or anything. They won on the servers they were good at. And at least Super Monkey Balls kept it close on San Francisco, except for the second half of game two, where they lost the lead. It just
Yeah, I mean it
LBT kept it close on Toronto. Super Monkey Balls had decent success on San Francisco, but it was just a matter of which team won more on their home server, and it turns
yeah,
out it was a split because of that.
yeah. I mean it was Dallas has been rough. We need to get somebody to figure that out. I just like 20 minutes ago did a duel against Dank and it was absolutely horrible. He still crushed me because he's good and I'm bad, but we were both teleporting all over the place and yeah, that is an issue.
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna handle games today with Dallas still being an issue. LBT and Pingfield probably gonna have to play Chicago
Yeah, well, I mean,
at the
I
at
feel
their
like it's
best
less
case
of an issue
scenario.
for Pingfield, given that Pingfield has kind of more central players, and like I know Ralph, I think is decent on Chicago anyway. Um,
The
but I
thing
also
is,
know the
right?
Chicago server has been getting full a lot too during competitive games because people
Oh my
start
God,
to
we the
use it
people
instead.
played Land Before Timers.
Oh boy.
That means that I'm gonna pick Weed the I'm actually gonna pick Weed the People in my
Wow.
survivor pool now. Because if it's on Chicago, then I
Yeah,
think
I don't
Weed the
know.
People has an edge.
But
Huh.
we need to contact the Tag Pro Future group about getting a new, more centrally located servers.
I assume Cheese is working on it. I mean, he's also on the Future Group.
Surely.
I think he's on the Future Group.
But
I don't know. He's on like everything these
but
days.
yeah, it's not good. Um, but hopefully captains are able to figure it out for games where that matters. But back for last week, we had the Isotopes played the question marks, and the question marks did get the sweep, but it was pretty close. Game one was a little bit less close, with the question marks just having two consistent close games, close halves, and then game two, the question marks ran away in half one, and then almost for comeback on in half two. This one appears to have been played largely on Chicago to avoid the Dallas issues, which is kind of what I expected. I think both El Sacco and Ralph have good Chicago ping. Cat Puke,
Ralph. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's
Cat
all
Puke
second
and
Ralph.
King Cruel are just central players to start with, so Chicago made sense there.
I mean, it's not like, yeah, I think Kingfield is the way better like Chicago team if you look at the Western two teams, and now you can see that at least the offense did fine for the Isotopes. I mean, Cat Puke had 506 seconds of hold, six caps. King Cruel had three caps, 250 hold.
Yeah, I do
It
think it
was
does hurt
fine.
them because the defense, and again, I've said it before, I do like the defense personally, but it was the weaker part of the team. And then to give them, I mean, I'm not sure if for Ralph or for El Sacco, if it's just like Chicago is okay, but it's slightly worse, or if it is like a noticeable difference. But if it's hurting them even a little bit, that could be the difference maker in some close games.
Yeah, I think for the question marks, the defense has been better than their first week against the in
They
their first
have
week.
definitely improved.
Yeah, 360 Bro Scrub still the solid defender that he is. Hippopotamus playing good support, or at least being good beside him. Nippopotamus, 360 Bro Scope, good prevent, good returns, good. Yeah, I think it's just a good week. I mean, after the question mark got swept week one, we maybe thought that the defense wasn't as cracked up as we thought it would be, but it turns out the next 2 weeks just dispelled the notion, and they're actually pretty good.
Yeah. So we have the Dolphins versus We the People. Dolphins get another sweep.
Oh,
We the People actually
dude.
keeping it close though.
Dude, it's not just close, dude. They had an 8-2 lead in the second half of audacity.
Yeah,
With 7 minutes to go in the second half, we the people was leading Miami Dolphins 8-2,
in the half, which is what
and
was
then
tied in the game total. But still, even forcing overtime would have gotten them points.
they didn't force overtime. They
Nope.
lost the game 10 to
They
8. It's
they gave
dumb.
up two caps in the last 2 minutes. Uh,
Just they didn't do what they
including
were doing the first
yeah,
13 minutes.
including an
Just irritating.
unfortunate dagger by Jarvis with 30 seconds left to just end it.
They had it too, dude.
Yep.
Like this was not a good week. It just
Well, and it
they
just at that
had
point
them.
it completely fell apart for them because they took the lead in game 1 and then they had the lead and they had it still tied up and then they completely fell apart the entire rest of the night. Game 2 was not close, 10-3. That was more what I was expecting. Though Cat Puke I think did win the plus minus the over under bet there because I went over and we the people did keep it closer than the 16 caps or whatever it was that was the over under for that.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to FUCK for getting 8 caps this week. Like, honestly, the offense was pretty solid. It's just the defense kind of fell apart. They just couldn't get reset that near in the end on that audacity, and then on Sugar Hill it just was not a competition at all. But at least, I mean, now Miami Dolphins. Do you think that they're way more beatable, or maybe just audacity is a weird map? Where like weaker defenses can end up being like doing being productive due to have how constrict due to have like how
I mean,
small that base is.
I think a lot of it is map dynamics. I think that we the people's offense knew how to work that map around the defense, so they were able to get out in cap. Um, but then the Dolphins offense managed to figure out how to beat the We the People defense in the second half and negated that. And then you go to Sugar Hill, which normally is like offenses will at least get out, but if you can't get reset, it's not helping you. and that's where you saw the difference in the two teams. I do think the Dolphins are beatable by the better teams in the league. Uh, but I I still do think they are the top team in the league for the time being.
Shout out to Sugar, by the way. Sugar had 629 prevent and also 7 caps and 325 seconds of hold. Two-way player right there. Really good two-way player.
Oh yeah. Then Legends of the Split Temple versus the Handoff God. This one, I mean, both half ones were pretty close, but overall it was not. Split Temple taking both games with 12-6 and then 12-5. I mean, I have been a big LST fan from the beginning, and it seems like they're finally finding their way. Handoff got
Uh,
struggling a lot more than I thought they would. I
I
mean,
don't think.
I think
I
we,
just think that I think that the handoff god was not a good team to begin with. I don't. I think LST is the. I think they met an offense that they could actually handle, like that LSD defense, and that's kind of why they did well. And at the same time, I think Drufa and BBB really like took their play up a level compared to previous weeks, and they had an easier defense to go up against, and they delivered. I don't think that this shows that they're
and I don't think
amazing,
that I don't.
but
I mean, obviously something isn't working with Handoff God, given that they haven't found any success really, at this
well,
point.
yeah.
But
But now they've made some huge changes,
they
which we'll
have
cover
made some
later.
changes. But that said, like I don't think that again, on paper, Maradona and I'm a Goat is not a bad defense because Maradona's really good and I'm a Goat is pretty decent, fringe AB teamer.
The one thing I noticed when watching the Handoff God LST games is that while the Handoff God was pretty like decent when the flag was there, as soon as the flag got grabbed and there was like even a sliver of space for the offense for Drufa and BBB, they could not get the return. Their contains were kind of off all over the place. They had a lot of backward snipes that really missed and then put them
Yeah.
behind and then put Drufa past three. And honestly, half of those mistakes, like those mistakes are just really rudimentary
Yeah.
mistakes.
Well,
Like you can't screw up contains that consistently and also boost backwards
yeah.
and
Well, and with
miss
that,
that
that's
easily.
kind of what I was gonna say is that mechanically and like as individuals, I think this has been a talented team the whole season, but they're not playing smart at all, and the chemistry isn't there, and the combination of those things means that they haven't won games.
Yeah, this is yeah. They like this. I like Jay Swan as an offender. I think Ginseng should be better on defense. I'm a go. Meh. It's just they're not producing the results I feel like they should be.
Yeah.
That's it.
So then we had your team's matchup with Nip versus BCC. Nip getting the a pretty solid sweep. I mean, like you mentioned at the beginning when we were looking at team stats, it did seem like it was an even matchup on the whole, but you guys just could not cap. Like
Yeah,
you got out
that's
a
that.
bit, you would hold a bit, but you weren't
It's
taking it
honestly
in.
like
I mean,
if
I
you
do
look
think
at
a lot of it
the
though, the Nip defense played very strong. Um, but still,
yeah, I'm just it's just we that first halves of each game were pretty close. We were down 2-1 first half of Audacity, and we were tied 3-3 at the after the first half of Sugar Hill. But on Audacity's second half, I could not get anything going. Like
yeah.
I personally could not get anything going. Carl and Unit were very good at tracking down whenever I tried to set up for a handoff, and we just could not get like anything as remotely working. And then in Sugar Hill, they got pups and they got tags and they
I
capped like the
mean,
first two times in like under a minute, and
I
then
mean,
after that it was just
yeah. Well,
bleh.
because I'm looking at the second half, I think of Sugar Hill, and that half pups were pretty even, but well, pups on the whole were not even, but the difference was all in juke juices rather than tag bros. Um, and it seems like uh, Carl with 4 minutes of prevent there. Um, like you guys were struggling a little bit. Rick G ended up on defense like a fair bit, and it just uh,
Yeah,
like,
it
he got
it was
desperate and
kind
it
of
wasn't
like
working.
the same issue with the Dolphins game where we just couldn't get reset enough. We were constantly in like transitional defense, transitional offense. Offense was playing defense, defense was playing offense, and that is just does not make for a very well thought out game plan. And this threw us off our funk. And credit to them, Prime and Big Brother, solid holders. But that defense, man, I think they're like a top. I think they're a top four defense in my opinion. After what I've seen, I think they're good enough now. I feel more confident in Nips as a team now that I've played against them.
Yeah, I do think they, especially at the beginning of the season, I do think that uh, the Nip defense still had a little bit of work to do on in terms of chemistry, communication, that kind of thing, and the offense was like finding themselves, both A-team rookies, both like going up against A-team defenses consistently for the first time, working together and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, they're figuring it out, and I think that they'll just continue to get stronger through the rest of the season.
It's also weird that we kind of really like we thought they were bad, but looking at their record, they were 2-2 with splits on Super Monkey Balls and Land Rover Timers. I feel like they were getting way more stick with a decent record. I like in the power rankings, they were like ranked 11th, even after week two when they ended up being 2-2. I feel like because it was
Yeah.
a Dusk team, we were very much expecting them to be at the top of the standings early on, which
Well,
kind of
and
dampened our expectations very much when they started not being at the
yeah, and
top.
people always kind of expect that, but Dust teams, I think, usually do like start a little bit slower, and then they just get momentum and finish the season strong.
Yeah,
Um,
and now I think with the sweep of our team, it either shows that they're really good or that Bohemian Capacity is not as good as people, as if I thought we would be, or some people thought that we would be,
yeah,
or that you're right and that we're just a mediocre team that will probably make the playoff and bow in the first round, and that hurts my feelings, and that really sucks.
I hate to say, I do think that's probably where you guys end up, but there's always hope. So then going on to the last matchup of the week, we had Bank of America apps versus Krusty Grabs. Uh, BOA with a very strong showing on Audacity, 11-3. But Krusty Grabs bringing it back, keeping it really close on Sugar Hill. On the Bank of America apps having to come back for a 1 point win. This was an exciting game to watch. It was a lot of fun for me. I'm sure that the second
Yeah,
game
I
was a lot
did.
more fun than the first one if you were on the Krusty Grab side of things.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but yeah, you can talk more about it. I'm just looking at team stats. Young Breezy with 9 caps, Zeus with 6.
Yeah, Breezy had a really strong week, taking a bit more of a primary role this week. I mean, Zeus still being Zeus, but uh, Breezy getting more caps and being more productive statistically than he had been in the first couple of weeks. Um, but really, it just seemed like we kind of just outplayed them by a little bit the whole time. Aside from a run in game one, half one, where from about halfway through game one, half one, straight through to the end, it was just nonstop caps. Um, but outside of that, it was a pretty even matchup. I do think that Krusty Grabs is good, but they couldn't quite pull it off, and I think Bank of America Apps is a top two team for sure right now, and that showed.
Um, yeah, I think I'm not gonna say top two. I think maybe top three, four. I think they're definitely a favorite to make the Foci four, but I'm
Yeah, I
not
mean, it'll be
so
interesting to
sure.
see. Bank of America Apps does not play Dolphins in the regular season.
They do
Excuse me.
not.
And those are rankings wise, like standings wise, the top two teams right now.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess they'll never play until the Nooper if they both make it. If this
yeah,
continues at
if
this
these
rate,
standings stay, they will not play unless they both make the Nooper, which would be interesting.
yeah, it'll be fun.
Yep.
And now I have to go shopping. I will catch up to you maybe if you finish the B team reviews all by yourself.
All right.
Or how about you start off with the Bank of America apps versus Krusty Krabs B team matchup?
Yeah, I will do that. We'll start going through the B team recaps, and then when you get back, or we'll either finish up the B
Maybe?
team recaps, or I'll be going over FA changes
Yeah,
before we do the
I would
previews.
really want to. I want to catch up with you on FA because I have a
All
lot
right.
more thoughts about that. But yeah, I'll see you in a bit.
All right. So we had Bank of America versus Krusty Krabs on B team. Uh, it was not pretty for BOA. Something fell apart. Krusty Krabs was motivated by their A team's loss and took two just insanely strong halves. And I think part of it was a little bit the struggle of Dallas in that I think Krusty Krabs did not have many players having issues with Dallas, and we did, but I mean that's no excuse for the level of beaten that we got. Um, I think we just let that tilt us a little bit, let it get into our heads, and then we didn't really recover until that last game. We managed to sneak out a 6-5 win to prevent the sweep. So hopefully we're able to get into a better mental space for this week's games and turn it around. But Krusty Krabs definitely showed that they can play and that they are developing those new players to be better than they were at the beginning of the season. So then we had the Nips versus BCC. BCC taking 2 out of 3, all relatively close games. Not super close, but not shutout style games. I think these are both still two good teams, but BCC looking just a little bit better than the Nips on this week. I still think BCC is one of the strongest teams, but Dusk showing improvement in the Nip team from last week, but still not quite able to compete with the BCC B team dynasty that Rick is trying to build. Uh, Legends of the Splitting Temple, uh, kind of beating up on Handoff God a little bit, getting a sweep. Closest game was 10-6 in game one, and after that, it just kept getting worse for Handoff God. Rough week on the whole for them. No really close games between A and B. Just, I mean, that's not what you want to see. Uh, I think there's some hope for them. We'll go over the FA changes that are happening after we get through these recaps. But Handoff got definitely struggling right now. LST looking strong and showing that. And hopefully Handoff God can turn it around. We had Dolphins versus We the People. Dolphins had been one of the really strong B teams through the first couple weeks, and We the People had not been, but then We the People came out with a vengeance and managed to get I think their first win on the season potentially in game one, winning 6-5. Close matchup, but they a win is a win, and that's what they were going for. After that, Dolphins did take the next two, but the Weed People kept them pretty close. And close B team games is what you like to see, especially when it's a team that started out not close, starting to turn things around and look a little bit better. Hopefully, they can keep that trend going, and we'll have more competitive B team matches to come. We've got the Isotopes versus the Question Marks. Uh, Question Marks taking 2 out of 3, winning the first game by a fair bit. The second game was very close, going into overtime. And then the third game, the Isotopes took pretty handily. And I think this was two B teams going against each other, putting in their more rotation players in opposite halves, opposite games, so that they get a solid, each get a solid win, and then when their more equal lineups went up against each other, it was a really close matchup, which is about what I expected from these two teams. We'd played them both. They both seemed pretty good when we played them. Um, it seemed pretty similar to each other on the whole, from what I can remember, and that's how it played out. And then lastly, we have the Land Before Timers versus the Super Monkey Balls LBT, taking 2 out of 3 with the middle game in overtime, and then Super Monkey Balls taking that third game pretty handily, 13-5. And I mean, I think it just comes down to Super Monkey Balls didn't have as much of a rotation to do. They had a more solid lineup throughout, but LBT's primary lineups definitely played quite well. And also of note, it does seem like these games were largely played on Chicago rather than Dallas, which possibly gives Super Monkey Balls a slight boost, especially over rotation players from LBT. If you're a newer West Coast player and you're losing 10 or 15 ping, that can make a difference for you, and that could be a factor into why Super Monkey Balls had that big uh, of a game three. That said, both teams looked good on the whole. Close games in the first two, and I think that Super Monkey Balls can definitely turn it around from here and try to get back into form and stay towards the top of the rankings. Now, Active wanted to be here for free agents, but I'm not sure how long it's going to be until he's back. So I'm going to close the 30 EUs that I have open. And then pull up the free agents. So I'll go over what the free agency results were, and then hopefully Active will be back by then, and if not, we'll see what I do. So 18 free agency, We the People started up with a very much expected pickup of Anti-Re going as 420, and then dropping Drift, which was a little bit of a surprise for me. He had been putting up their stronger defense numbers so far, but apparently they decided they would rather have their other players than him, and and he's their drop. Then you have the Handoff God picking up Might Dino, very strong pickup. Dropping J-Swan, I think J-Swan's a really strong player. But of the players on the team, I can't say I'm surprised that he's the one who had to take the drop there for Might Dino, who is a very, very strong player, especially in a weaker offensive season. Then you have BCC picking up Obama. Obama is O restricted, normally a D player, but O restricted. So we'll see what Rick does there. Is Rick going to try moving himself to defense again? Is Rick going to drop active to B team. Who knows? But something will happen. They drop Poodle. Um, that said, I don't think dropping Poodle means that Rick has to switch to D necessarily, because they have some solid B team defenders who I think could pop up to fill in the gap left by dropping a defender for an offender, even if Rick did not want to play D. But we'll see how that goes. I'm sure Active has more insight on that. The Krusty Grabs pick up Hawaii and drop Turd Ferguson. We'll see if Hawaii is not washed. This could be a pretty solid pickup, though I do think Turd is quite good. I do think that a non-washed Hawaii is a really strong pickup for them and puts them in position to do a little bit better. So then moving on to the B team free agency pickups. The handoff god picks up Turd Ferguson. Really solid pickup. Basically getting an A team level defender for their B team, which should help a bit. We the people then taking Poodle. Again, really solid defender. Had been doing mostly pretty good through the first few weeks. But definitely a top tier B teamer. Nip Station picking up Drift, hoping to help shore up their B team a bit. Then the Krusty Grabs get J-Swan, absolutely fantastic offender, and should provide a little bit more veteran leadership to that B team. The Iced Up Steak rookie first slime. I'll look up their profile really quick. I think they had decent pub win rates. But as with most rookies, it's going to be hard to tell how they're going to do until they are doing it. But yeah, first slime, very, very good win rates at almost 60% across the board. Maybe not very good, but pretty good win rates, especially for a rookie. But also it appears that they have not played in almost 2 weeks in pubs. So hopefully they show up, do pretty well. And that could be a good pickup, but it's going to be hard to tell until we see him. BOA taking Garrett, very solid Western defender, but then trading for, I believe, Omnivore, who has put up pretty solid offensive numbers. Also a Western defender, but apparently LBT was less attached to Omnivore than they were to Garrett. I'm hoping Omnivore can fit in well with our offense. I think he's a really good pickup via trade. I think Garrett will be a very solid addition to LBT. But yeah, both good players, and I think they can improve their new teams. And Miami picking up rookie Deptonic. Deptonic looks to have mid to low 50s win rates, so should be pretty decent. But might take a minute to get up to speed with competitive meta and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Super Monkey Balls picking up Monte Cristo, the Euro, who put up really solid numbers a few seasons ago with the Mighty Ducks. BCC picking up Aaron with the double dashes, and I think he seemed pretty solid when I was playing with him in ELTP minors. It has been a hot sec since he played NLTP, putting up kind of middling stats uh way back, I think like in season 12. Yeah, last time he played was season 12. So that's like 9 seasons ago. That's like 3 years ago. Put up okay numbers, but not great. Um, but again, he seemed pretty good when I played with him in ELTP. He's got 60% win rate in pubs. So I think that should be a pretty solid pickup for an already pretty strong BCC team. And then Legends of the Splitting Temple, already a pretty strong B team, picking up the legend himself, Method Man. Love to see Method Man getting back into the game. He was on my team season 18 and ended up having to leave. That was the season where we ended up going to 80 minutes with giant rosters from the influx of signups. And I think he ended up leaving after the last week of 60 minutes, in which every single player on my roster got 20 minutes of playing time, despite the fact that I was not able to show up myself that week. So that was a rough week right before the switch to 80 minutes, and understandable why he would decide not to play after that. Tried to get him back once we switched to 80 minutes, but he had completely disappeared. That said, love to see him back. I think he'll be a great addition to an already strong uh, Legend of the Splitting Temple team. And that's as much as I can delay before active gets here. So to me, the biggest things, it's going to be interesting to see if um if 420 anti-re can make a difference for We the People. They did look a little bit stronger last week against what appears to be a pretty good Dolphins team. Um, and anti-re coming off of a hugely successful season on 18 last season. But that said, will it be enough to overcome the struggles that We the People have had so far? That's what remains to be seen. The Handoff God takes what was already looked like a strong team on paper and makes it look really, really strong on paper. Especially if, in my opinion, I think Ginseng would be better on defense. I think the concern that pushed him to offense was that it was kind of a weaker offensive season, and he is mechanically one of the better players in the league. So they decided to put him on offense, just to try to get themselves a stronger lead offender. But now with Might Dino dropping down, that gives him flexibility to move down. Might Dino arguably going to be the best offender in the league right now, uh, depending on how things shake out. But definitely in contention there. Um, that gives Ginseng the flexibility to move back to defense. And if they play to their potential, a Ginseng Maradona defense with Might Dino and any solid fringe ball on offense should be one of the better teams in the league. But that said, this team has struggled so far. So it'll be interesting to see if that plays out. BCC picking up Obama, restricted. I mean, I think personally, I would have gone with Hawaii here. It's a little bit risky because you've been able to see Obama play in MLTP a little bit this season, and you haven't been able to see Hawaii play. But I feel like adding a defender was probably the better move for BCC, but we'll see how it plays out. I hope it works out well for them. Um, Obama definitely more than capable, mechanically at least, of playing offense, yeah, at an NLTP level. I'm curious to see exactly what they do. I think the move here is probably either Rick drop himself to B team or move himself to defense and drop Um, while Rick drop and move himself to defense and just keep it going. But I think either Ghost or Bert are both capable of moving up to fill that A team slot if Rick does decide to move himself down. I haven't been around for their scrims, so I don't know if they've been trying out either of those lineups or just keeping the same lineup, but with Rick on D and Obama filling in on O. Um, should definitely improve the team, but it'll be interesting to see how much, whether that works out, etc. And then Krusty Graz with the, I think, highest risk, highest reward move on A team with picking up Hawaii. If Hawaii returns to his second most recent season form from MLTP, in which a lot of people think that he got carried a little bit to those stats, this team becomes scary good with a completely locked down defense. Um, and even if Hawaii is just pretty decent and not washed, I think that's still a really good team. Um, Vlasic has been playing really well. They're just I think that's a pretty solid team on the whole, and hopefully Hawaii able to also provide some old timer veteran knowledge and leadership uh, to help Overkill keep improving his game. Very much there mex wise, but if he can improve his decision making and game smarts, then that'll be huge. Um, so if this move really works out for them, it works out. But then if Hawaii is totally washed, then you just lose an A-team defender, which is a rough situation. I think probably somewhere in the middle, and I think it probably helps them a little bit, but we'll see. As far as B team, I'll go over I think what I think the biggest ads were. I think Handoff God getting Turd Ferguson will help them a lot. I think Nips getting Drift will help them. Krusty Grabs already on the upswing and getting Jace one is huge. And then I think BCC getting AA Ron should also be a pretty big pickup for them. So now I will begin my previews all alone for week 4. LBT versus We the People. I think this one kind of comes down to how the server is for Dallas. Because Anti-Re always struggles on Dallas, even when it isn't having issues for half the league. So if LBT decides to just force it on Dallas, I think they can probably pull it off regardless. If they decide to play on Chicago, I think it'll probably be okay for them. Um, Anti-Re coming in his first week with his new team, I'm sure he'll do fine, but I think LBT still has a slight advantage there, even if it's on Chicago. Um, if Dallas manages to be fixed by tonight magically, then I think LBT has a more definite advantage than they would on Chicago. I think We the People manages to, regardless of the situation, be uh, just move themselves even closer to winning. But I think LBT still takes a narrow sweep here. And then We the People tries to go on a tear in the last few weeks to put themselves in playoff position. Then you have Pingfield Isotopes versus Handoff God. Handoff God, looking at their new roster, they switched to Central server, which won't make a difference this week, but will in future weeks potentially. Again, it'll be interesting to see the server situation, but regardless, I think that impacts these teams less. They now both have some Western players, some Central players, and I think Handoff God still has some more Eastern players. But I think this matchup will play out similarly regardless of the server situation. Um, Handoff God now looks really, really, really good on paper, but they looked pretty good on paper before. So I don't think it's going to be a magical turnaround where they're suddenly dominant. And the Isotopes have been a smart team thus far on the whole. So I think this one's a split. I think that let me check the maps really quick. Yeah, Transilia 2020 and Thicket. I think that the Isotopes will take Transilia 2020 by playing smart on the more well-established map. And then I think Handoff God takes advantage of their mechs and their new player and pops off on Thicket to take a win. So then we got Dolphins versus the Manipulation Station. Um, this to me is one of the matchup is probably the matchup of the week. But if not, it's still up there. It's a game that you should watch if you're able to. Um, or at least watch the start of and see if it plays out the way that I think it will. But this is a very strong Dolphins team that is undefeated and has been playing consistently well from the beginning of the season, but has shown signs of being beatable against uh, a Dusk Captain team that has been constantly improving, just coming off of their best week yet. And one of the things that Dusk does best is game plan and strategy against other teams. And I think that the Nips have a pretty solid chance of handing the Dolphins uh, their first loss of the season. So I'm gonna have to say I think this one's gonna be a split. But both teams definitely look strong. Could go either way. I say it's a split. Legends of the Splitting Temple versus Bank of Americaps. These are both pretty good teams. Legends of the Splitting Temple coming off of their best week yet to push them into the middle of the pack standings wise. Bank of Americaps still with just the one overtime loss, the only blemish on their record. I I think LST tries to ride the momentum, and I think the games are close, but I think that BOA manages to take the sweep again. And then let's see. Although potentially server factoring into that one as well, as it will be a Chicago Dallas split. Um, then we've got Super Monkey Balls versus Bohemian Capsity. I'm very curious to see how the new BCC lineup works. Um, but I do think that Super Monkey Balls has been continuing to look stronger and stronger throughout the season. BCC dipping off a bit, and with the all the lineup changes, I think what happens here is either a really close split or a close Super Monkey Balls sweep. Maybe Obama manages to shore up the team and solves their problems, but I think that they'll struggle a little bit this week in the transition period. And I think that Super Monkey Balls being a really good team um, will be able to take advantage of that and push them down even further before they're able to rebound. So then the final matchup of the week, we have the question marks versus the Krusty Grabs. Uh, the Krusty Grabs with their fancy new pickup, Hawaii. And the question marks, one of the few teams that managed to be, I believe, completely unaffected by the entire free agency period. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Hawaii does. against the question marks offense. Both teams seemed to have some strong points when they played us, but the question marks, I think, at least to me, seemed stronger overall. And then since switching Laserpig to A, has seemed even stronger. Laserpig able to support um undefies, definitely not bold rollers. We'd never make that mistake. More aggressive playstyle. So I think that I got to give the advantage to the question marks here. I think they'll pull off a sweep. I think it'll be close. Um, if Hawaii really shows up and is in form already, then this becomes a really good matchup, and Krusty Krabs could maybe take the win or even potentially a sweep. But I think even if Hawaii is still good, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment week for him, trying to shake the rest off. And I think question marks are good enough to take advantage of that and take the sweep. And active is still not back, which means that the fun fact that I teased last week will just have to wait until next week to be a trivia question for active and or ghost. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.